Hello, and welcome back to Quinn Timeless Tales, where we explore stories that show us just how interconnected our world can be, and how sometimes the universe delivers justice in the most unexpected ways. Today's story is a journey that was supposed to end at a beautiful wedding in Hawaii, but instead took a hard left turn into chaos, confrontation, and a revelation so perfectly timed. It feels like it was written by fate itself. It's a story about a woman's quiet strength against a hurricane of entitlement. It's about the red flags we ignore and the single moment that can force us to see them. Get comfortable, because this 30,000-foot drama escalates into a family-shattering explosion that all starts with one simple request, or rather, one demand for a seat. Our story begins not with anger, but with hope. Meet Eve. She is, as our story describes her, quiet and thoughtful. But before we even get to know her personality, we see her struggle. A broken leg, a full cast. This isn't just an inconvenience. It's a symbol of her current state, vulnerable but resilient. She's not letting this stop her, because she's on her way to see her big brother, Ethan, get married. Ethan isn't just any brother. He's her rock, her best friend. The story calls him her beloved brother, and we can imagine why. We can picture the phone call when she broke her leg a few weeks prior. Ethan's voice, warm and concerned. "Eve, are you sure you can still make it? A flight that long with a cast. I'll understand if you can't." Eve's voice, determined but gentle. "Are you kidding? I wouldn't miss you getting married for anything in the world. I'll be fine. I even booked one of those extra-wide seats at the front. I'll be sipping a Mai Tai on the beach with you and Clara before you know it." Eve is a planner. She anticipates the difficulty and prepares for it. The extra-wide seat isn't a luxury. It's a necessity she thoughtfully arranged and paid for. As she finally boards the plane, we feel her sense of relief. She's done it. The hardest part is over. Now, it's just a few hours until paradise, until she can celebrate the most important man in her life. She pulls out a book, ready to settle in. She is in her small, self-made sanctuary, a bubble of peace. But as we all know, bubbles are made to be burst. Enter Pamela. The story introduces her with a symphony of obnoxious adjectives. Loud, entitled, dragging her bratty, hyperactive son. She is the antithesis of Eve's quiet consideration. She moves through the world as if it's her personal property, and everyone else is just an obstacle. Pamela's eyes scan the cabin, not for her assigned seats, but for an opportunity. And then she sees it, Eve's spacious seat, a throne of comfort just waiting to be usurped. She marches over. There's no greeting. No, excuse me. Just a demand. "Pamela, I need you to move." Eve, looking up from her book, confused. "I'm sorry." Pamela, gesturing to her son, Liam, who is now trying to climb the seat in front of him. "My son needs to be able to stretch out. He's very active. You need to switch seats with me." The present. Eve is on her phone, texting. A message from Ethan reads, "Can't wait to see you, little sis. Clara is so excited to finally meet you in person. This is going to be perfect." Eve smiles, but there's a flicker of apprehension in her eyes. Our story's hero is a woman named Eve, and the first thing we need to understand about Eve is her nature. She's described as quiet and thoughtful. She's not a fighter, not a pot stirrer. She's the kind of person who prefers a good book to a loud party, a deep conversation to a shouting match. And right now she's in pain. Not emotional pain, not yet. Physical pain. A silly, mundane accident, a patch of black ice on her own doorstep, has left her with a broken leg and a full cast from her toes to her thigh. It's cumbersome, it's frustrating, and it's a constant, dull ache. But she's enduring it for one reason, her big brother, Ethan. Eve and Ethan are more than just siblings. They're best friends. He's always been her protector, her confidant. And now he's getting married in Hawaii. A destination wedding. It's the happiest moment of his life, and there is no force on earth that could make Eve miss it. She's only met the bride-to-be, a woman named Clara, a handful of times over video chat. Clara seemed intense, polished, sharp and maybe a little high-strung. But Ethan was smitten, completely head over heels. And if Ethan was happy, Eve was determined to be happy for him. She pushed aside any lingering doubts, blaming them on the distance and the awkwardness of virtual meetings. So she plans. Knowing the agony of a long flight with a leg like that, she does the responsible thing. She spends the extra money. She books an extra wide seat in the bulkhead row, the one with all the legroom. It's an investment in her own well-being, a small act of self-care to ensure she can make it through the 6-hour flight to paradise. Getting through the airport is an ordeal. Every step on her crutches is a chore. But finally, she's on the plane. She finds her seat 3A. It's perfect. There's room to elevate her leg, space to breathe. For the first time all day, she feels a sense of relief wash over her. She closes her eyes, imagining the warm Hawaiian sun, the sound of the ocean, and the look on Ethan's face when he sees her there. The pain is worth it. This journey is worth it. Or so she thought. And then she arrives. The story introduces her as Pamela, loud, entitled, dragging her son, Liam, who is a Tasmanian devil in a child's body. Pamela is the antithesis of Eve. Where Eve is quiet consideration, Pamela is booming demand. She doesn't see a person in a difficult situation. She sees an obstacle. She sees a resource, that extra wide seat, that she believes she is more entitled to. The confrontation begins not with a request, but with an order. Pamela, excuse me, I need that seat. Eve, opening her eyes, confused, I'm sorry. Pamela, gesturing to her son, who is now trying to climb the back of another seat. My son needs to be able to stretch out. We'll switch. You can take our seats in the back. Notice the language. I need that seat. Not, would you mind? Not, is there any chance? It's a declaration. Eve, taken aback, looks down at her own very obvious, very large cast, and then back at Pamela. Eve, oh, I'm sorry I can't. I specifically booked this seat because of my leg. I need the space. It's a polite, firm, and completely reasonable refusal. For most people, the conversation would end there. An awkward apology, perhaps, and they'd move on. But we are not dealing with a reasonable person. We are dealing with Pamela. And for someone like Pamela, the word no is not a boundary. It's a declaration of war. Eve, gesturing politely to her very obvious cast, oh, I'm afraid I can't. I have a broken leg and I specifically booked this seat for the space. Pamela scoffs, her voice dripping with disdain. Right? Look, I have a child. His needs come first. It's just a little walk for you. You can manage. Let's analyze this moment. Pamela doesn't see Eve's cast as a sign of injury. She sees it as an excuse she needs to invalidate. This is a classic tactic of an entitled person. They reframe your legitimate needs as selfish complaints to justify their own selfish desires. When Eve, still politely but firmly, says, I'm sorry, but no, the mask comes off completely. Pamela's face twists into a mask of theatrical outrage. She throws her hands up in the air. Pamela loudly, for the whole section to hear, unbelievable. I am just trying to care for my child. And some people have absolutely no compassion. What is wrong with the world today? She immediately summons a flight attendant, not to resolve a problem, but to perform for an audience. She paints Eve as a villain, a cold-hearted person denying a poor child comfort. The flight attendant, seeing Eve's cast and her ticket, politely tells Pamela that Eve is in her assigned, pre-booked seat. But this only adds fuel to the fire. Pamela spends the next 30 minutes muttering passive-aggressive comments, ensuring Eve's bubble of peace is thoroughly and intentionally destroyed. As the flight reaches cruising altitude, the drama should be over. But Pamela's brand of chaos is a gift that keeps on giving. Her son, Liam, the very reason she supposedly needed the seat, is not sitting anywhere. He is, as the story says, running wild in the aisle. This is a critical detail. The child's comfort was never the issue. The seat was about power, about Pamela getting what she wanted. Her neglect of her own son is proof of that. And then, the plane shudders. Turbulence. a common, if unnerving, part of air travel. But in this story, it's an instrument of fate. Liam, being completely unsupervised, loses his footing. He trips. He bangs his head on an armrest. It's not a serious injury, but it's a shock. A normal parent would feel a rush of guilt and concern. They'd rush to their child, blaming themselves for not having them buckled in. But Pamela is not a normal parent. Pamela's screaming, hysterical, this is your fault. If you had moved, he would have been safe. My baby is hurt because of you. It's a masterclass in psychological projection. She cannot accept the consequences of her own negligence. So her mind instantly creates a narrative where Eve is the villain. The entire cabin is now staring. But Pamela is beyond shame. She's in a full-blown narcissistic rage. And she does the unthinkable. Pamela screaming, "Turn this plane around. My son is injured. I demand you land this plane now. This is the point of no return." Banging on a cockpit door mid-flight is not just a tantrum. It's a federal offense. It's a security threat. The crew has no choice. The captain's voice comes over the intercom, calm but firm. "Captain, ladies and gentlemen, due to a security issue on board, we will be diverting and making an emergency landing. Please remain in your seats." Pamela, in her quest to punish Eve for a minor inconvenience, has just grounded an entire airplane. The plane lands. The passengers are a mixture of annoyed, scared, and relieved. But for Eve, it must be a surreal nightmare. All she wanted was to go to her brother's wedding. Now she's the unwilling star of a federal incident. The police board the plane and head straight for Pamela, who is still sputtering about her rights and Eve's assault on her son. At this point, we, the audience, feel a sense of justice. The entitled villain is getting her comeuppance. But the story is about to deliver a twist that elevates it from a simple revenge story to a timeless tale of karmic perfection. As she's being led away, Pamela makes a frantic call. "Pamela, Clara, get to the airport now. Gate C12. This horrible woman. They're arresting me. You have to help. We expect a lawyer, maybe a husband." But instead, moments later, a new player enters the arena. Clara. Clara is Pamela. She isn't here to listen or understand. She's here to destroy the person who wronged her family. She spots the crowd of police and passengers, and at its center, the quiet woman with the cast, Eve. She storms forward, her face a thundercloud. And then, she sees Eve's face clearly, and the world stops. Clara hissing, venomously, "You!" Eve is completely bewildered. Who is this woman? Before she can even form a question, Clara unleashes her accusation, a conclusion she has clearly been nursing in her heart for some time. Clara screaming, "I knew my fiancé was cheating on me. I knew it." And without a shred of evidence, without a single question, she acts. In front of the police, in front of the dozens of witnesses with their phones out, Clara rears back her hand. Police immediately tackle Clara, pulling her away. There's a scene of utter chaos. And in the middle of it all, Eve, holding her cheek, her voice quiet but clear, delivers the 5 words that will bring this entire house of cards crashing down. "Eve, I'm your fiancé's sister." The truth, crashing down like a hammer. In that single, horrifying moment, Clara understands everything. The woman she just publicly assaulted is Ethan's sister. The proof of her fiancé's infidelity was a paranoid fantasy. And she has just revealed her true, violent, unhinged nature to the one family she was trying to join. Ella explodes. But it's not a simple explosion of anger. It's a calculated detonation of passive-aggressive venom. She doesn't yell at Eve. She yells about Eve, for the benefit of her audience. Pamela loudly, to no one in particular, unbelievable, the lack of compassion in people today. My poor son just wants to be comfortable, and this woman, well, some people just don't care about the needs of a child. She's painting a picture, casting herself as the righteous mother and Eve as the heartless villain. A flight attendant, sensing the escalating tension, intervenes. He's seen this 1,000 times. "Flight attendant, is there a problem here, ma'am?" Pamela, "Yes, This woman is refusing to move for my son. We need her seat. Flight attendant looking at Eve's cast. Then at the manifest on his tablet, ma'am. This passenger has booked and paid for this specific seat due to a medical necessity. I can see your assigned seats are 24B and 24C. Please head to your seats so we can prepare for departure. Checkmate, right? The voice of authority has spoken. But Pamela just doubles down. She argues, she complains, she huffs and puffs all the way down the aisle, shooting venomous glares back at Eve. Eve, for her part, just shrinks into her seat, mortified, her face burning with unwanted attention. The flight takes off, but the tension remains, thick and suffocating. An hour passes. The plane cruises at altitude, but the peace is a fragile illusion, because Pamela's neglect is a ticking time bomb. Her son, Liam, the very reason she claimed to need that extra space, is using the entire airplane aisle as his personal playground. And where is Pamela? Oblivious, lost in her phone, headphones on, actively ignoring her child and her responsibilities. Then it happens. Turbulence. Not severe, just a sudden, sharp jolt, the kind that reminds you you're in a metal tube flying through the sky. For everyone seated, it's a minor inconvenience. But for a small, unattended boy running in the aisle, it's a disaster. Liam goes down. He trips, and his head connects hard with an armrest. The shriek that follows cuts through the entire cabin. Now, a normal parent's reaction would be a surge of adrenaline, fear, and self-recrimination. Oh my God, my son. I shouldn't have let him run in the aisle. But again, Pamela is not a normal parent. In her mind, nothing is ever her fault. Her brain, in a stunning feat of cognitive dissonance, finds the one person she has already decided to blame for everything. Pamela, this is your fault. If you had moved, he would have been safe. He would have had room. The logic is so breathtakingly warped it's almost impressive. She screams that if Eve had given up her seat, none of this would have happened. The entire cabin is now staring, witnessing a complete mental breakdown. Flight attendants rush toward her, trying to de-escalate. But Pamela is beyond reason. She has entered a state of pure, weaponized hysteria. She pushes past the crew, her eyes wild, and does the unthinkable. She makes a run for the cockpit. This is the point of no return. Banging on a cockpit door mid-flight is not just a tantrum. It's a federal offense. She has single-handedly transformed herself from an obnoxious passenger into a threat to the safety of everyone on board. She has forced a pilot to divert a 747. The consequences of her entitlement are no longer just social awkwardness. They are now massive, expensive, and legal. All because she couldn't handle being told no. The emergency landing is swift. As the plane touches down in a strange city, the reality of the situation sinks in. Police board the aircraft, their faces grim. There's no discussion. They head straight for Pamela. The karma is beginning to arrive, and it's wearing a badge and carrying handcuffs. As she's being led away, Pamela makes a frantic phone call. Who is she calling? Her husband? A lawyer? She's calling for backup. They are all taken to a cordoned-off area of the airport terminal. Eve has to give a statement, a painful recounting of the entire event. As she's sitting there, nursing her aching leg and a throbbing headache, a new figure storms into the scene. This is Clara. The story describes Clara as dressed sharply, full of attitude, and ready to defend her sister. She is Pamela's sister in every sense of the word, cut from the same cloth of arrogance and aggression. She sees her sister in trouble and immediately seeks a target for her rage. And she finds one. She finds Eve. But what happens next is the twist that elevates the story into legend. Clara storms toward Eve. But when she gets close enough to see her face clearly, she doesn't just see a random passenger. She sees a face she recognizes. A face from photos, from video calls. A face she has apparently been obsessing over. Clara hissing you. Eve is bewildered. She's never met this woman in her life. Before she can even form a question, Clara unleashes a torrent of misplaced fury. Clara, I knew it. I knew my fiancé was cheating on me with you. The aftermath is swift and devastating. Humiliation radiates off Clara in waves. She's now facing assault charges on top of everything else. She and Pamela, the two toxic sisters, are dragged away, their arrogant facades completely shattered. Now comes the hardest part for Eve. The phone call. News travels fast, but this is news her brother needs to hear from her. Ethan, Eve. Hey, did you land? How was the flight? Eve, her voice trembling slightly. Ethan, we had to make an emergency landing. Something happened. It's about Clara. We don't need to hear the entire conversation. We can imagine it. Eve, calmly and factually, recounting the entitlement on the plane, the lies, the rage, the public delusion of her sister, and finally, the slap. For Ethan, it must have been like a puzzle he didn't know he was solving, suddenly clicking into place. Every little red flag he'd ignored, Clara's jealousy, her short temper, her stories about her dramatic sister Pamela. It all coalesces into one undeniable, ugly truth. He calls off the wedding. It's a heartbreaking decision, but also an act of self-preservation. He was saved, not by a private investigator or a dramatic confession, but by his future sister-in-law's uncontrollable rage and his future wife's violent paranoia. And our story ends here. Eve made it to Hawaii after all. She didn't attend a wedding, but she did something far more important. She saved her brother's future. The story's final line is perfect. She may be limping, but she walks away with her dignity and her brother's future intact. She endured a trial by fire. She was tested, accused, and even physically assaulted. But she never sank to their level. Her quiet, thoughtful nature, the very thing Pamela tried to bulldoze, became her shield and her sword. She won not by fighting, but by being herself. This is a timeless tale about the explosive power of karma. Pamela and Clara built a world for themselves based on entitlement and aggression, and it took only one flight, one confrontation with a person of integrity, for their entire world to implode. It serves as a powerful reminder. Be careful what you put out into the world, because you never know when it will come back to you, delivered by the last person you'd ever expect. What did you all think? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from Quinn Timeless Tales. Until next time, remember that sometimes the quietest voice can cause the loudest crash.